On February 15th, 2018, at approximately 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Deputy Zach Wester of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office pulled over 52-year-old grandmother Teresa Odom in Marianna, Florida, because her vehicle brake lights were allegedly flickering on and off at a fast pace. After Ms. Odom was pulled over, Deputy Wester approached the driver's side window of Ms. Odom's vehicle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Should I turn in here to get off?
You're fine, you're fine. Deputy Wester with Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Reason for my stop is your brake lights.
Yes, sir.
They work 1 minute, and the next minute they don't work, and then a few seconds later they just flash, okay? You see my hip give out right then? Good Lord.
Look,
All
you
right.
just don't even need to know. I've been at the hospital with an
My
84-year-old
God.
uncle all day long for 3 days.
Okay.
Now, so I'm expecting anything at this point.
That would be, I hope everything turns out good with that, all right?
It did. It did.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. I'm
It
sorry.
did. And I'm waiting on Dr. Albrecht to call me. That was another thing I was fixing to tell you.
Okay.
If Dr. Albrecht calls,
That's
may I
fine.
answer his call?
That ain't no problem. I don't care. Yeah, I'm not going to keep you from talking on the phone, okay? Anything in the vehicle I need to be concerned about? Bombs, hand grenades,
Drugs,
rocket launchers?
nothing.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Here's what I do probably 10 or 15 times a shift, okay? There's going to be a K9 coming in a minute, and she's going to walk around the car, okay? But instead of doing that, would you consent to a search of your vehicle? You're fine with that? Okay. All right. You mind stepping out and just hanging out with this deputy right back here?
No, I don't. I'm scared of being in this traffic. To be
No,
honest with you.
Deputy Hayke will take care of you.
Deputy Wester informs Ms. Odom that a canine unit is on the way and requests that she consent to a search of her vehicle instead of waiting for the canine. Despite the fact that she was under no legal obligation to do so, Ms. Odom readily agrees to allow Deputy Wester to search her vehicle. In general, while officers are not prohibited from requesting to search a citizen's home, vehicle, or person, individuals have the right to refuse to consent. However, if an individual consents, officers have the authority to conduct a search, even if there is no probable cause, reasonable suspicion, or any justification whatsoever for the search. For this reason, criminal defense attorneys recommend that individuals refuse to consent to any search that an officer requests permission to conduct, because if an officer asks for consent to search, they typically do not have the legal authority to conduct the search without permission. It is also important to note that a court would almost certainly conclude that Deputy Wester did not have the reasonable suspicion necessary to detain Ms. Odom to wait for the canine unit to arrive.
Can I take my phone?
Yeah, take your phone. I don't care. That's fine. Come on. 2554 to 2540. You can cancel. I got consent. All right, Deputy Hayke, make sure you don't get run over, okay? Because I have faith that he would prefer to get over. All right, just hang tight, myself.
Here, the body cam footage video shows what appears to be a small baggie in Deputy Wester's hand as he puts on his gloves. It was later proven that Deputy Wester planted methamphetamine in Ms. Odom's vehicle. Although there are no statutes in Florida that explicitly prohibit police officers from planting drugs, doing so in order to falsify charges against an individual violates many different state laws. For instance, Section 838.022 of the Florida statutes, which defines the offense of official misconduct, states that, quote, "It is unlawful for a public servant to knowingly and intentionally obtain a benefit for any person, or to cause unlawful harm to another by falsifying any official record or official document." So, if Deputy Wester included information about planted drugs in a police report or another official document, he could be found guilty of official misconduct. Similarly, Section 918.13 of the Florida statutes, which outlines the crime of fabricating evidence, states that, quote, "No person, knowing that an investigation by a duly constituted law enforcement agency of this state is pending or is about to be instituted, shall make, present, or use any record, document, or thing knowing it to be false." Therefore, Deputy Wester could violate this statute by presenting planted drugs as evidence against Ms. Odom, or including a false narrative in a police report. And of course, Deputy Wester also likely illegally possessed the drugs that he planted, in violation of Section 893-13 of the Florida statutes. Although planting drugs or other evidence is highly unethical and illegal behavior, some police officers do engage in such conduct, and individuals who are the victims of planted evidence often feel powerless to fight the charges against them when it's their word against a corrupt officer's. However, public defenders and criminal defense lawyers can help citizens who are charged with crimes based on planted evidence defend themselves, so individuals should never plead guilty to criminal charges without first consulting an attorney. After planting the evidence in Ms. Odom's vehicle, Deputy Wester confronts her about the substance.
According to the brother of David, neither he nor his brother drank milk.
Miss Odom.
It is yogurt, son.
I know. Okay.
It's yogurt.
How about this, though?
That is not mine. No, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you any
No,
direct, hold on.
sir.
I'm not going to ask you any direct questions. I'm going to read you your rights first, okay? So just hang out with Deputy Hayke here.
What is it?
I have an idea. We're going to test it, though, okay? I don't know.
Oh
but
no, Teresa, you're going to jail.
Yep. Do what? Okay.
What it is? Yeah, there it goes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Jess. No. Do you have anything on you, Miss Odom?
I said I didn't have anything on me in the truck.
Oh, okay.
officer.
Oh, okay. But do you have anything on your person? Is what
I
I'm
have
asking.
nothing on me to my knowledge
Okay.
at
Thank
all.
you. We're good. Okay. All right.
And I'm not trying to be over.
It did return presumptive positive for methamphetamine. Okay. I'm just letting you know. Okay.
Deputy Wester conducts a field chemical test on the planted substance and informs Ms. Odom that the test was presumptive positive for methamphetamine. According to a feature in the New York Times, there are many factors that can impact the results of a roadside field test. For instance, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement reports that 21% of substances submitted to its labs as methamphetamine were not methamphetamine, and half of the false positives were not even illegal drugs. In fact, in the first 7 months of 2014 alone, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Florida reported 15 false positives for methamphetamine after deputies misunderstood which colors indicated a positive result. Environmental factors can also interfere with the field test, with cold weather slowing the development of color results and heat speeding it up. And lighting conditions on the street can prevent officers from accurately determining the color of the result strip. These issues are not limited to methamphetamine tests, as a common field test for cocaine uses a chemical called cobalt thiocyanate, which turns blue when exposed to cocaine, as well as over 80 other chemical compounds, including acne medications, common household cleaners, and methadone. Although field chemical testing is too unreliable to be used as evidence in court, it can be used to obtain probable cause to arrest individuals found with substances in their possession. However, because the vast majority of drug cases in the United States are resolved through plea bargains, prosecutors often accept guilty or no contest pleas before more accurate lab testing is conducted on the purportedly illegal substances. In other words, despite the fact that field drug tests are not admissible as evidence, a large proportion of drug convictions are based solely on the results of these tests. However, it should be noted that the results of the test Deputy Webster conducted were not a false positive, since Deputy Webster actually did plant methamphetamine in Miss Odom's vehicle.
What about my truck?
I'm going to have to tow it, okay, since it's a narcotics felony arrest, okay?
They saying they gonna tow my truck, baby.
Here, you just want to put your phone and your sunglasses in your purse here, and we'll make sure all this gets to the jail.
Ms. Odom was placed under arrest and charged with felony counts of methamphetamine possession and drug paraphernalia. She was held in jail for 19 days and then pled no contest to the charges. Ms. Odom later explained why she didn't fight the charges, stating that, quote, "I just didn't think I'd be able to beat anything, being as it was law enforcement. And I wanted to get home and take care of my grandbaby. She was about to be 3 months old." In August 2018, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement initiated an investigation into Deputy Wester's conduct at the request of the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Wester was placed on administrative leave on August 1st, 2018, and fired on September 10th. The Department of Law Enforcement's investigation found that Deputy Wester routinely pulled over citizens for minor traffic infractions, planted drugs inside their vehicles, and arrested them. In response to these allegations, prosecutors reviewed almost 300 cases in which former Deputy Wester was involved, and dropped charges and vacated convictions in over 100 of those cases. Ms. Odom was among those found to be affected, and on September 18, 2018, her convictions were vacated and the charges against her were dismissed. On July 10, 2019, Mr. Wester was arrested on numerous felony and misdemeanor charges, and on May 18, 2021, a jury found Mr. Wester guilty of 19 out of the 67 charges against him, and he was eventually convicted of 12 felonies. On July 13, 2021, Mr. Wester was sentenced to 12 and a half years in state prison for these convictions. Mr. Wester has since filed an appeal, and as of the date of this episode, the appellate case is still pending. Over a dozen of Mr. Wester's victims have filed civil rights lawsuits over his misconduct, and on July 25, 2019, Ms. Odom filed a federal lawsuit against Mr. Wester. As of the date of this episode, her case is also still pending. Overall, former Deputy Wester gets an F for displaying a total lack of compassion and empathy for Ms. Odom and his other victims, maliciously neglecting his duty as a member of law enforcement, and for abusing his policing authority and intentionally jailing innocent citizens. This interaction largely speaks for itself. And it goes without saying that Mr. Wester's conduct was nothing short of cruel and criminal. Although an exact motive was never established, evidence was presented that suggested that Mr. Wester wanted to secure a position on his department's drug task force, which his father, Robert Wester, had ran for approximately 15 years. Again, this motive has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but if true, it demonstrates the lengths that Mr. Wester was willing to go in an effort to advance his own career at the expense of innocent citizens. Ironically enough, several of Mr. Wester's victims reported him telling them to, quote, "Be careful who you have around," and, quote, "A lot of people you think you can trust, you can't." This is yet another officer that deserves a grade lower than an F. And this interaction highlights the important role that independent verification plays in police encounters. As for Ms. Odom, it would not be appropriate to assign a grade to an individual who was purely a victim of misconduct and not in control of any aspect of the encounter. There is no doubt that Ms. Odom should not have given the deputy permission to search her vehicle, but considering that Mr. Wester demonstrated a complete disregard for the law, it's difficult to see how the interaction would have been any different otherwise. If Ms. Odom had refused consent, then Mr. Wester would have likely waited for a canine unit, despite the Rodriguez ruling, and then planted false evidence anyway. Ms. Odom was faced with an impossibly difficult and emotionally traumatizing situation, as were the rest of Mr. Wester's victims.
Found guilty of 19 charges involving fabricating evidence and arresting innocent people, was sentenced to 12 years and 6 months in prison this afternoon.
News 13's Chloe Sparks is live this evening at the Jackson County Courthouse with the latest on the case. Chloe, today was sentencing for Zachary Wester.
That is right, guys. It has been a little bit over 2 years since former Jackson County Deputy Zachary Wester was arrested. Now, on May 10th, they started the trials, and he was announced that he will be sentenced this week, and that is today, and he was sentenced to 12 years and 6 months in prison. The jury found Wester guilty on 19 out of 67 charges. He's been charged with racketeering, official misconduct, fabricating evidence, false imprisonment, possession of controlled substances, and drug paraphernalia, and perjury. Wester joined the Jackson County Sheriff's Office in 2016, but it wasn't until 2018 that people started to question his actions. A prosecutor noticed Wester's reports didn't match his body cam footage. Often, Wester would turn off his body camera and only have it on after he found drugs in people's cars, but he was really taking the time off camera to plant the drugs in the vehicle he pulled over. Then he would wrongfully arrest the person. One of the Wester's victims appeared in court today, Teresa Odom.
To you, Mr. Wester, you've robbed me of my credibility being a mother and a grandmother for the last 3 years. I've probably missed 1.5 years of my grandbaby's life because of this. I wish you no ill will, and you'll never know what you've done to me until you have children of your own, so.
He planted things like meth and marijuana. The innocent people Wester arrested were in shock when Wester would claim to find illegal substances in their vehicles. Before this, Wester had a clean record. In 2019, Florida Department of Law Enforcement arrested the former deputy in Crawfordville, where he and his wife lived. It is not certain what Wester's motive was, but prosecutors also say that it could have been his desire to serve in the narcotics unit. Today at the Jackson County Courthouse, Wester seemed upset with his actions, shedding tears almost the entire time. He did have a mask on, so it was a little bit hard to see, but it was pretty intense. In Jackson County, Chloe Sparks, News 13, Panhandle Strong.
Bullshit is everywhere. Bullshit is rampant. Parents are full of shit, teachers are full of shit, clergymen are full of shit, and law enforcement people are full of shit.